Justin Bassi is Executive Director at the Australian Strategic Policy Institute and joins us now. Justin, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Ros. Great to be with you.
So what's your reaction then, both to the news that ASIO says Iran was behind at least, they say, 2 anti-Semitic attacks on Australian soil and the expulsion of Iran's ambassador?
Well, it's very significant for multiple reasons, Ros. Obviously, it is not every day that we have a foreign regime accused of and attributed to directing violence in Australia, on Australian soil. We have never, as the Foreign Minister has pointed out, we have not expelled an ambassador since the end of World War II. We've expelled other diplomats, but not ambassadors, so that's significant. I think also a third element that is highly significant is that both the Prime Minister and the Director General of ASIO have said that while it is very well known that Iran uses its proxies around the world, terrorist groups and criminal groups, to carry out its activities, what seems to be unique here is that Iran was seeking to sow distrust within Australia's society. So not just to use violence to achieve Iran's ends, but to actually use the vulnerable state of which some aspects, some elements of Australia's society is in to sow division. That's very, very significant.
And what is ASIO saying about how Iran orchestrated these attacks?
Well, I think it shows how highly skilled our intelligence community is, how highly skilled the officers of ASIO are, given how complex this operation seems to be. It is not simply a case that people in Australia have been arrested. It is obviously a very good thing that some people in Australia have been arrested in relation to these attacks. But as set out by the Director General of ASIO, what we've seen here is that they have had to work out almost like a supply chain of criminal activity all the way back to Iran's regime. And the Director General described it as cutouts or shadow organisations and individuals. And the interesting part here is that a lot of these individuals around the world that have been involved in this activity somehow, directing violence in Australia, some of them may not even have understood who was the source of the information. Some of them might just have been taking money or being a lackey of a criminal organisation. But what the Director General has set out is that we have seen all the way from the Iranian government and its IRGC a direction of activity through a series of cutouts, a series of individuals and organisations around the world until people have been directed to carry out violence here in Australia. Very, very significant.
And what was Iran trying to achieve through these attacks, Justin?
Well, I think multiple ends here for Iran. It is well known that Iran for many years has been a purveyor of terrorism around the world, not just close to home, but all over the world. A number of examples. In 2012, the Indian government attributed to the Iranian government a bombing of Israel's embassy in Delhi. We've seen reports of similar activity in places like Thailand. And of course, only just last year, we heard reports coming out of the US that the Iranian government had directed an individual in the US to assassinate President Trump. So what they are looking to do is to effectively suppress critics of the Iranian regime, whether they are looking for people, dissidents, to self-censor, or worse, to act violently against them, to kill them, to assassinate them. But here there's an added element, not just a violent attempt to suppress critics of the Iranian regime, but specifically, as set out by the Prime Minister and the Director General, to sow division in our society. So that extra element is really important, and that's why the decision here really was that this activity, both the violence and the sowing of division, the real interference within our society, was so intolerable that action that hasn't been taken since the end of World War II, the expelling of the Iranian ambassador, was absolutely vital.
So relations, Justin, between Iran and Australia are at a new low. What does that mean for Iranians living here and Australians living in Iran?
There is impact at both ends, and I think the Australian government clearly recognises that. They clearly needed to take the action once the assessment came through from ASIO, but they have prepared. Usually it's the case where there is an expelling of diplomats, where diplomats are made persona non grata. You can usually expect there to be reciprocal expelling of diplomats from the other country. We've seen that over a period of years, usually, of course, with countries like Russia. But here, the Australian government has not waited for that retaliatory action. They have taken out the Australian diplomats from Tehran to ensure they are safe in a third country. That means that the mission in Tehran, the important work that it does, is temporarily closed. But that shows exactly how significant the directions from the Iranian government for violence in Australia, how significant those actions are, because it has put at risk, of course, having that mission, those operations through the mission in Tehran. But the message here is that Australia cannot just say that because we have a mission in Tehran, because we have those interests, that we are willing to put up with whatever threats a country like Iran is able to throw at us. And then the reverse here in Australia, we've got to make sure that we don't allow Iran to succeed in its endeavours to sow division through our society. We've got to ensure that we are able to say, well, the Iranian people who have left Iran come to Australia for a better life, frankly, leaving Iran that treats its own citizens very, very poorly, that we don't take it out on the Iranian people in Australia, the people of Iranian descent, that we're clearly able to say, as the Australian government is, that this is the actions of the Iranian government. It means that we need to expel the Iranian ambassador. Also, the listing of IRGC is a clear signal and message to people in Australia that any support of the IRGC is not just morally bad and dangerous, but is going to be illegal. And so you cannot support, fund, or associate with the IRGC into the future. That's a very important move.
Justin Bassi, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.